G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee, and in today's episode of r/Am I the Arsehole, OP asks us if they're an arsehole for pulling out of their brother's wedding because their old bullies will be there. Very relatable story, I can understand where OP is coming from, but I want to know what you think of this one, so let's get to it. Am I the arsehole for pulling out of my brother's wedding because my old bullies will be there? My brother B is getting married, and his fiancée F went to the same high school as me. I used to be mercilessly bullied in high school and didn't have any friends, which led to a horrible period of depression and anxiety. I now mainly deal by suppressing those memories and cutting off contact with people I knew from high school. F used to be a part of a mean girl clique who were especially terrible to me. But to be fair, she was more of a follower in the clique. She never directly bullied me, but she used to just laugh along when her clique made fun of me. When B started dating F, I was shocked and had a hard time dealing with it because it brought back what her clique used to do to me. If I ever bring up something they did, F usually just laughs it off, saying she doesn't remember, and that they were probably just young and stupid. It took a lot of convincing by B, and a lot of time working on myself, for me to finally forgive F and accept her as my brother's girlfriend. B and F are now engaged, and B asked me to be his best woman. I accepted, and even agreed to help out with F's side of wedding events because her maid of honor has too much on her plate. The wedding planning has been going smoothly so far, until F told me she was going to invite her high school clique to her bachelorette party when she can have it. I immediately felt the old anxiety come back, and asked her if they will be invited to the wedding too. She said yes, and learning that nearly crushed me. I spent some time thinking about it, and I don't think I could be at the wedding if those people are there. F at least never tortured me herself, so I can handle it, but seeing her gang leaders again would very likely trigger my depression or worse, send me into a panic attack at the wedding itself. I told B that I might need to pull out of the wedding because of that, but I can still help however I can with the wedding planning as long as I don't come in contact with F's old gang. B is very upset and says I'm only thinking of myself, and clearly I don't want to be at his wedding because I still don't accept F as his future wife. He also told me that I should move on from whatever happened in high school, but even if I try to do that, a high-stress event like this wedding would be the worst time to test if moving on works. Am I the arsehole? Now in the comments, not the arsehole. And I'm sick and tired of people telling emotionally scarred victims to move on because it was in childhood. I know people are crap accepting any kind of consequences, but rarely, what type of abuse is so dismissed and mocked as the school abuse? Oh, it's fine, you spent your formative years tormented by your peers. Why can't you move on? The whole thing is so ridiculous, as if just because it was fellow children abusing you, it's suddenly fine, and then we're labeled as pathetic because in our adulthood, we have to deal with the consequences of the abuse that was indeed carried out at the time by children, but also supported and endorsed by adults, people whose job should have been protecting us and setting a good example. Nope, F that. She will never stop triggering you, and the least you can do for yourself is not to go to the wedding to have to smile in the face of the people who abused you. Mind you, you are being considerate. You have trauma. There is no guarantee that you'll be able to look happy at the wedding, no matter how hard you try. An unhappy guest at a wedding is a shitty guest. You are doing them a favor. Also, F remembers full well. Do with that info as you will, but she is full of it when she claims she forgot. If she were truly worthy of your forgiveness, she would have a big talk with you, deeply apologize with no excuses, acknowledge your trauma, and disinvite her clique because they are her high school friends and you are her sister-in-law. Not the arsehole. Fiancé never apologized for what she and her friends put you through. She just made excuses. Have you told her how upsetting it is to see those people? Talk to her directly. If she blows you off, you know she doesn't care about you and has no loyalty to family. You would not be the arsehole if you pulled out of the wedding because of that. OP replies to that, I haven't told F because I thought it would cause less drama if I told my brother, and I'm in the wedding party on my brother's side too, so it makes more sense. Plus, F knows that I didn't want her around at the beginning of their relationship, which caused a rough patch for all three of us. So I learned that it's better to talk to B directly than talking to F and then having it come back to B as me having an issue with her. If you've talked to F about her bullying and your trauma, and the only result was her complaining to B that you have issues with her, then F is still a bully, just a more subtle one. Her only response should have been deep apologies. I hate to say this, you may lose your relationship with your brother over this because by B choosing your former bully, he is becoming a bully to you himself. You don't mention any other family, but what do they say? Your parents must have seen firsthand the huge toll the bullying took on you. Not the asshole. But this is really a situation where you should talk to a therapist or counselor about your feelings. It's reasonable for B to be upset, but not reasonable for him to take it out on you or start making accusations about how you feel about F. Back to the top of the post, edit. Thanks so much to everyone who have sent supportive messages in the comments. I got a temp ban for getting into a spat with a troll who called me an attention seeker, so I couldn't continue replying to people, but I really appreciate the support. I don't think B and F are bad people at heart. B just really wants me at his wedding, and F, despite our past, has been quite nice and has made efforts to improve her relationship with me. We are still not BFFs, but I recognized her efforts enough to help with the wedding. This new development is just unfortunately too emotionally charged. As of now, B is saying that he will stop talking about it, but he is saving me a seat at the wedding no matter what, and he hopes that it won't be empty. It is the best reaction I can hope for at the moment, and I hope we can work it out before the wedding. And now on to the update. Like I said in my last post, I don't think F is a bad person. She tried very hard to grow closer to me after our rocky start. It's a lot of small steps that I can't describe, but one example is how she made a point to remember my favorite food to cook or find out what I like to help B pick presents for me. I really did appreciate the effort, which is why I got over my initial disapproval of the relationship, even if she never outright apologized to me. Right after I posted, the situation was tense for weeks. I barely talked to B, and our mum heard that I didn't want to be at the wedding and got upset at me too. The weird thing was, our mum being mad actually turned B around. I told B once how mum told me to just get over it when I was being bullied, so when she was ranting at me for being selfish, B snapped and told her it was partly her fault this was happening too. There were lots of tears over a few days, but at the end, I managed to tell B everything I went through. B got mum to back off and told me he wouldn't be mad at me or pressure me anymore, but he would still like me to be at his wedding if I feel better. What happened next with F actually was the most shocking. I still didn't talk to her after I reconciled with B because we both felt too awkward and her bachelorette party went on without me. After the party, F finally reached out. It turned out, when her old clique went to her party, she got them to write an apology to me. She gave me an apology letter signed by them and herself, plus some notes from the girls who wanted to add their own apology. It was surreal to get those notes, and it took me days to finish reading because I kept crying. Honestly, I still don't know how to feel about them or how much they actually helped, but what I decided was that this was clearly an effort to mend things from F's side, and I should meet them halfway. My intention now is to try to make it to the wedding since B and F have done their parts. With that said, I'm still worried about my mental state when the day actually comes, and I'm talking to B about backup plans in case I still can't feel better enough by then. I'm looking into therapy and have tried 2 different therapists. Neither feels quite right yet since I still feel very uncomfortable talking about what happened, but I'm actively looking for options to resolve my issues. This is probably one of the better ways my situation could have played out, and I'm lucky that I got B back on my side. For those who came out with their own bullying experiences, please know that you are in my heart, and I truly hope we can all get better together. Please take care and stay strong. I probably will log out of this throwaway and read the comments logged out, so I apologize if I miss any messages. Thanks everyone. Random tidbit here, but when they said meet me halfway, I just started singing the Black Eyed Peas. What a banger, what a great song. In the comments, Boozoo says, do you have a +1? If you could bring a friend as a support person who knows your history, that would help surely. And maybe request via F that the clique leave you alone. You appreciate the notes of apology but don't wish to address anything directly at the wedding. I hope you get to make it to the wedding, and if that doesn't work out, I hope you, B, and F can celebrate later in your own way. The good thing is F is on your side, and if the apology letter is any indication, her old clique has matured and feels some remorse for their actions, even if that remorse is only to help their friend's wedding go off without drama. Tell F exactly how you want any interaction with the clique to go at the wedding, whether it's an in-person apology, cordiality, or none of them are to speak to you at all. Take some time and think about how you can best handle being there and let F know. This happened to my mum when she was in high school. She was a part of that punk gang in the 80s who just bullied everyone. When she brings it up now, you can clearly see the guilt and embarrassment on her face. She is mortified for being that kind of teen. I hope these bullies feel that way as well. OP, I hope you feel better after this, even if you need time to think about it and recover. Good luck. Our next post is titled, "Would I be the arsehole if I asked a member of the wedding party to wear something to cover their hair?" I'm getting married this fall, Rona willing. One member of the wedding party has neon yellow-green hair and is asked they plan on keeping that color for the foreseeable future, including for the wedding. I did not know this person had dyed their hair until after I'd asked them to be in the wedding party. They have dyed their hair a few times in the past, but never their whole head. More of just highlights or ombre and low-key stuff. And never a color this bright, so honestly I just didn't see it coming. Everyone else has more muted colors of hair, and the dresses and tuxes are also on the grayscale, so it's going to stand out. I know it's just hair, it's their choice, and I'm trying to be as respectful as possible. However, I also frankly don't want to look at my wedding pictures for the rest of my life and have the first thing I noticed be their frickin' neon hair. It seriously draws the eye. Ideas we have come up with to mitigate this are 1. Make all the photos of the wedding party be in black and white. 2. Ask the photographer to edit this person's hair to a not neon yellow-green color, which may also be an asshole move. I still feel weird about that, opinions welcome. Or 3. The option someone proposed that I'm really conflicted about. Ask the person to wear a wide lace headband or wrap that covers most of their hair and style it pulled back, so it's more or less tucked away for most of the pictures. If it matters, we bought or rented dresses and tuxes for everyone and would pay for this accessory too, and we're paying for hair to be done professionally for the wedding party, because if I'm going to ask people to look a certain way for an event for me, I don't want to force them to pay to do it. But I can't tell if this would be taking my input a step too far. It was a little awkward when I asked how long they were planning to keep their hair neon, and I just asked coming from a place of curiosity, not asking specifically about the wedding. So I think they might get mad at me if I ask them to more or less hide it. Would I be the arsehole if I asked this person to wear a hairpiece or style that covers most of their neon hair for my wedding? Edit to clarify, I'm asking would I be the arsehole for asking them to consider a hairpiece that covers a lot of their hair and pulls it back from their face, not telling them this is what I want or they'll be out of the wedding. If they are not comfortable with the hairpiece, then I'd ask them how they'd feel if there was editing or color balance adjustments to the photos to tone it down. And if that's still a no, then we would just pick black and white photos. We get one professional album with our photography pack, so we would just make the whole thing black and white photos. We would still have digital copies of all of the photos color and not, just the ones we'd hang in our house and stuff would be black and white. No one is getting kicked out of the wedding for how they look, no one is going to be forced to do anything. Now in the comments, no assholes here. There is a very big difference in asking someone to dye their natural hair color for a wedding and asking someone to cover up their dyed hair color, no less a neon attention-grabbing color. You are not the asshole for your compromise ideas, nor would you be the asshole in asking her to somehow disguise her hair color with an accessory. Of course, she isn't the asshole either for dyeing her hair a neon color, as neon colors are awesome. Just not always at weddings, lol. Not the asshole. It sounds like you were trying to confront this issue as tactfully as possible. As a recent bridesmaid who dyes her hair on natural colors, I asked the bride her preference 6 months in advance in case she didn't want to see purple hair in her photos. It's just hair, but going full color like that and doing it well can get pricey. I don't think wanting a certain aesthetic for your photos is wrong, and I think there are always a lot of ways to approach this tactfully with everyone okay with it, depending on the bridesmaid's attitude. I hope she sees your reasoning without taking it as some sort of a personal attack. A wig for a day or one of your suggestions should be more than reasonably accommodating. And now on to the update. My original post didn't get a ton of responses, but I really appreciated the people who did respond, and I wanted to share an update since the situation is fully resolved. While the top comments were "no assholes here" or "not the asshole," I read every comment and I got a lot of different perspectives, and I continued to think on the situation and reflect on what you all said. I had a realization that I was putting all my stress and anxiety about life and the wedding, as well as my frustration with some unrelated and rude and hurtful things my friend had done, into my frustration with the hair situation because it was an easy thing to be upset about. I did some deep breathing and decided it wasn't worth saying anything about covering the hair. For my mental health, I needed to just let it go and let everything else go too. My wedding day was amazing. I am so glad to not only be married, but also be done with the wedding planning and moving and all of it, because holy heck, it was a lot. Some people said I was shallow to even care about the hair in pictures at all. And yeah, I probably am. I accept that. The hair does stand out a lot in the color pictures, and the person had their natural roots, which looked absolutely awful. I'm not going to lie, I found it incredibly rude they dyed their hair neon, and they didn't even bother to make sure that it was maintained for being in a wedding. But in black and white, everything looks totally fine, and I love black and white pictures anyway. They also got married a bit after my wedding. The bitchy voice in my head couldn't help but note that they bothered to get their roots done for their own wedding, and I complained to my husband a bit in our hotel room after the rehearsal. Got it out of my system, had a great time in their wedding. I guess all this to say, whether or not it would have been an asshole move to ask them to cover their hair, as people pointed out, it wasn't worth it. The hair did bother me, I am a little shallow, and I am a little selfish, but it wasn't as big of a deal as I was making it out to be. It was better to keep all shallow, selfish, and bitchy thoughts to myself and my husband, work on acceptance and move on. Writing this is my closure. I will spare no more thought or energy for the neon hair. Thank you all for helping me find perspective. And edit, just to clarify some questions I've seen come up, since people have cared enough to message me about it, why do I think it was rude to not dye their roots? Would I have paid for it? Did I pay for things for them to be in the wedding? And were our weddings far apart enough, etc.? I paid for everything I could to help take off the burden. Dresses, tuxes, hair, even offered people places to stay if they didn't want to do a hotel. If they had told me that it was a money issue, I would gladly have paid for the roots to be done too if they told me they needed help. I know people are in various financial situations. I told my wedding party if there were any financial challenges coming up in being a part of my wedding to please tell me, and I would help because I didn't want it to be a burden. I think when you are in a wedding, you're agreeing to maintain your appearance and hygiene for that day. You are going to shower before, you are going to brush your hair and teeth, you are going to do what you need to do to be presentable. In my perspective, if you dye your hair a very attention-grabbing color that differs dramatically from your natural hair color, then you make sure the dye job looks decent and well done and not an inch grown out, and that's a part of looking presentable for a formal event. The weddings were months apart. They got the roots touched up not too long after my wedding, and then again the weekend of their wedding. I felt it was rude because it was clear the person did consider it something important to do for other events in their life, just not for my wedding. And that to me shows a lack of care, especially when, again, I would have paid for it. Additionally, I was in their wedding and paid for my dress, and for their bachelorette party, they did not contribute to or come to mine. And you know what? All that's fine. They are well in their right to do whatever they want with their money and their hair. It just all added up, and me, knowing them, knowing their situation, I found it rude. It is what it is with respect to that friend. I am unbelievably happy with my wedding day and my black and white pictures. I am so grateful to be married and to have had all my friends by my side for the day, regardless of their hair. Now in the comments, quote, "For my mental health, I needed to just let it go and let everything else go too." If more people did that, the world would be a much nicer place. Quote, "I complained to my husband a bit in our hotel room after the rehearsal and got it out of my system." That is also good. Get it out of your system in private and move on. Dwelling on something is like taking poison and hoping the other person gets sick. So true, especially on this sub. I mean, oftentimes people are somewhat justified in doing or saying things that are hurtful to others, but is justification enough? I personally think the end goal is more important. Yes, I may or may not be the asshole by telling my mother-in-law that she's a complete and total nightmare, but will that make my marriage better? Will it make my relationship with mother-in-law better, or will it have a negative ripple effect? Sometimes we all need to worry less about justifying our behaviors and let some things go, or find a more productive way to handle conflict. This is the healthiest wedding hair conflict story that I've read on Reddit. Your update showed an amazing amount of reflection and self-knowledge. Am I the asshole could use more of that. What a nice conclusion. You seem like a very chill person. The friend seems like a low-key asshole to do that for a friend's wedding. I dye my hair bright colors all the time, but I've kept my hair plain recently so my sister can have nice wedding pictures that is coming up shortly. It would have been more understandable if she got her roots done right before your wedding, so her hair appeared maintained. But since it's your pictures, feel free to filter and Photoshop them however you prefer. It is for you and your spouse alone. And I think that's where I'm going to leave the episode for today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, tell me what you thought about it down below. Fun fact, Australia has just announced that we're in La Niña season, which is lovely because it just does not stop raining. There is goddamn rain every goddamn day, and that is a thumbs up for me because there's just been so many periods where it's like weeks on end with like very little rain, which is great if you like going to the beach and going out doing things, but it's just so many plants die all the time. It's very odd, but that's really Australia, isn't it? It's like when it rains it floods and then just bloody drought the other times. Anyway guys, enough with that. I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.